There were so many top recruits in Miami over the weekend. But how do they feel about the U? Here's what they're saying.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, if there is such a thing. I'm Alex Donno. I'm a University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and contributor to allhurricanes.com. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. We're free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're going to talk with the recruiting overlord. And every time Brian Smith joins us, he's brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. Huge topic of conversation for us the last couple of days has been Miami Hurricanes 2025 quarterback commit Luke Nickel, who competed at Battle 7-on-7 Miami, absolutely dominated. The same way he dominated for Milton High School en route to a state championship. And a man who spoke with Nickel yesterday is my colleague at All Hurricanes, Brian Smith. And Brian, you sent me some audio, the 3 minutes or so you had to chat with Nickel yesterday. And I was like fist pumping. I know he's committed to Miami, but when he said he's locked in and basically said like these other programs recruiting him, there's not a whole lot they can do. I absolutely loved hearing that.
He is really happy with his commitment. I talked with him more about that off air and stuff. And he said Georgia's not really pushing that much. And I think everybody kind of knows that he wants to go to the University of Miami. Great relationship with Mario and with Shannon. So he's happy with that. He likes the development. He likes the campus. He's good to go, man. He's helping Miami recruit receivers. This is a kid that's going to play for the U.
And, you know, you watched him both days because I did speak with Larry Bluestein yesterday morning, who kind of reviewed the Saturday for Luke Nickel. And Brian, sounds like he kept dominating through Sunday.
Here's the most important thing to note, accuracy. He puts the ball where it needs to be, middle of the field, over a linebacker, whatever it is. He changes his speed, his direction, like he'll turn and move a safety, then come back to another spot. He sets him up. He's advanced. He's worked a lot with Cam Newton. That's the guy that obviously coaches Cam Newton. I mean, it's his program, and everybody comes at them because of Cam. He's a big talker and everything. But he coached him up the last 3 years, and he's come a long way. And now Luke is really one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I would compare him to C.J. Carr from the last class that signed with Notre Dame, makes his throws, doesn't force the ball, and just beats you to death over and over and over again. Very consistent player.
Yeah, I mean, Bluestein said, in his opinion, Nickel has, you know, since last season, he's emerged as one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the country.
Probably.
So, like, at what point are his recruiting service rankings going to reflect that? Because I feel like he is in store for a bump because most of the services have him still as a 3-star.
Yeah, Rivals is the only one with the 4-star. I talked with him a little bit about that. Me and Gio interviewed him afterwards, and you know what? He doesn't really care much. He notices. I mean, everybody does. Yeah. But nobody really gets to see kids all the time, and it's different people, especially the guys like myself in Florida. Seeing him on film is nice. Seeing it, and I'm standing 3 feet behind him when he's throwing. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Like Cam's standing next to me, Luke's in front of me, and he's throwing to guys. That's
crazy.
We just walk down the field. That's just 7-on-7.
Wow.
Media gets as much coverage as they want, and he did a really good job, man. Just saying, you know, it's no big deal. He didn't push the envelope, but they'll probably bump him in the next month or two. About every month to 2 months, these networks do their own thing. I don't know when On Threes is or whatever. Rivals, I think, does it just about every month. He'll be a 4-star by everybody.
Now, another player you had a chance to speak with is Jamie French, standout wide receiver from Mandarin in Jacksonville. You know, he's remixing and kind of redoing its recruitment. Was an Alabama commit. He decommitted after Saban retired, and Miami is in his top 3, he has said, along with Florida State and Ohio State. So give me the skinny on Jamie French, Brian. What is he saying about Miami?
Well, he was at the last I spoke to him on Saturday, he was literally picking up his bag to go to the hotel and shower, then head to Miami. They were the first SFE had early round, and then they went on down. He was excited about it. He knows that they want him really bad, and he's, in my opinion, the best receiver in the class. Tremendous route runner. Nobody stays in front of him. He dominated last summer at Future 50, at Under Armour, et cetera. He's the best player there, et cetera. He's a top 10 kid. I don't know where he's going to go, but he made it clear those were the top 3, and Miami's right there. This is going to be a long recruitment.
Well,
So,
I hope he and Luke Nickel had some conversations when you talk about Nickel recruiting receivers.
well, Luke did mention during the interview that he spoke with Jamie, and I'm sure he's going to recruit him anyway.
Yeah.
Why would you not?
Yeah.
Like I said, nobody stays in front of him. He's one of those kids. He's not as big as like Jeremiah, but he's just so shifty. Nobody can stay in front of him, and he's got top end speed. So Miami will be in this. He told me they're going to get a visit. You know, they'll be one of the official visits. We'll know more about him after spring, but Miami is in the thick of it.
Well, let's stick on wide receivers then. What about Koby Howard from Chaminade-Madonna, another class of 2025? Obviously, he's got to follow and try to fill the shoes of Jeremiah and JoJo, who are off to college football. What is Koby Howard saying about Miami?
He's excited about them as well. They've been coming after him. He's been there several times. That's a kid. They should be in it, just like Jamie, down to the wire. National recruit. He's a kid that can absolutely take the top off of a defense. And he likes Cristobal and their message. They've been consistent with him. And he went out of the way when I was talking to him. He'd broken his leg at Miami's camp a couple of summers ago. Terrible injury. Oh. And Mario was standing like 10 feet from him when it happened. He literally watched it happen. I've seen the video.
Terrible.
And he stayed in touch with him all through the process and everything. And that's something that Howard just thought was really cool, because a lot of guys probably would have passed. But he made an incredible recovery, and even played last year in 7-on and through the season. But now he's back to his old self, and he's a lot stronger too. So Florida State, Miami, wherever he wants to go, he can. Miami, I think, will be in his final 2 or 3 schools. We
got the recruiting overlord, Brian Smith, with us. There's several top defensive players I want to talk about. I want to talk about DJ Pickett. I want to talk about linebacker Jadon Perlotte, who we probably haven't spoken about enough. I want to talk about some offensive linemen as well. You know, we had the 5-on-5 going on down here, and there is a behemoth offensive lineman out of Wisconsin who's got Miami in his top 2, along with the Fighting Irish that we have to talk about. So you know what you want to do, my friends? We're only getting started on this Monday episode. You want to keep it locked right here to Locked On Canes. And I know you're keeping it locked to eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you will always know exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Thank you so much for making this episode of Locked On Canes your first listen today. For your second listen, your second watch, make sure, guys, you're keeping it locked to Locked On Sports Today. This network, Locked On, has launched the first ever 24/7 streaming sports YouTube channel. It's Locked On Sports Today. You're always getting analysis from the top local and national experts. I'm sure they're talking about Dan Campbell's decisions, and they're talking about, the Super Bowl matchup being set right now. Locked On Sports Today has you covered literally 24 hours a day. We got the recruiting overlord, Brian Smith, with us. Brian, the huge topic of conversation in these parts has been DJ Pickett. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the entire Pickett family. Did you get a chance to chat with DJ Pickett over the weekend, and what's he saying about Miami?
I talked to him briefly. His team got bounced after the first round, so I didn't get as much as I'd like, but he was the most impressive physical player there. They won't throw at him. I don't know how many clips I did video. They will not throw at him. So I had to get a video clip of him score. He played one play at receiver. He scored. Nobody can guard him, and nobody gets by him. It's unique. He was going to Miami. Booker is down this weekend. He hasn't enrolled yet. That's his cousin. I actually ran into him at another event and talked to him for a little while. Miami's right in the thick of it with DJ. I'm curious to see, I'll talk to him sometime in the next couple of weeks, how that's relating, because I know Booker is going to recruit his cousin. Oh, yeah. He's going to. Florida State, everybody's still after him. Miami's in that top little group. That's what I know. I didn't get to go into it and elaborate with him because they got bounced and turned around and they were gone. But nonetheless, Miami's right there.
Yeah, and another one who was down as a 2026 is his cousin Canon Pickett, who's the younger brother of Booker Jr. And I feel like Miami's in a really good place for Canon. Obviously, that's still a year away, so I'm not going to drop any Donno balls yet. But one of the interesting things when I spoke with Booker Sr., he basically said that like Booker Jr. was a little bit of a rebel, was not necessarily always repping Miami growing up, but he ends up locking into the Hurricanes, whereas Canon grew up a Miami fan, ride or die. So hopefully Miami can lock up Canon and DJ and just get the entire Pickett family on a lifetime contract.
I actually ran into him at the 5-on-5 camp. That's where I saw Booker, and he threw up the U, and I got a picture of him and everything.
Oh, nice.
He got the gloves on and all that stuff. Cannon's a great kid, big personality.
All right, so what about a player who's actually a Georgia commit, but he seems to be keeping things somewhat open, and that's Jadon Perlotte, 4-star linebacker, top linebacker out of Buford, Georgia. You spoke to him over the weekend. Can Miami gain some ground here?
Miami's right in the middle of this one. He's committed to Georgia, but I honestly don't think that's where he's going to end up. Alabama, Auburn, Ohio State, and Miami are the other four. I'll take the field. I talked to him, and I've known him since he was in 9th grade. He's a kid everybody's recruited forever, plays at Buford. And I talked to him extensively, and he's pretty open. He's going to take all 5 of his officials. This will be a late decision. He's not really hiding that. But Miami's right there, and they've went after him. Like he did a 4-hour session with Coach Nicholson once on campus. They're all over him. So he loves Mario. He said he's been over there to his house and stuff. He's seen the whole 9 yards with what it's like to be around Miami, and he loves it. So great kid too. A lot of fun. Really enjoyed speaking with him again. He's gotten thick, but he still can run too. He can cover. Most kids his size can't cover like he does.
Not sure if you got any FaceTime with Elijah Melendez, Miami Hurricanes committed linebacker. Now he's saying all the right things, kind of like Luke Nickel. He's basically saying he's locked in. Melendez talked about how he's basically going to be down in South Florida like every month for unofficial visits through signing day. So it seems like he's pretty locked in. Talk about him a little bit and what kind of player Miami is getting here, because I keep hearing words like physical freak thrown in when people talk about Melendez.
I didn't interview him this weekend, but I know him, and he lives right down the road from where I do here in Central Florida. When I first met him as a sophomore, he looked like a professional boxer. He was so put together.
Wow.
He just moved in from Colorado. Downhill kid, is a thumper, but he can really run. He was originally a running back, actually. So they had Tavion Swin at the same high school, so they didn't need him at running back. They just put him in middle linebacker. Now he just runs over people. I think he's as good an inside linebacker prospect as there is in Florida, and he's a kid that can go wherever he wants. I know Miami's going to have to fend off a lot of schools to get him. I'm sure he's going to visit several times, but I'm sure the Georgias and Floridas of the world are still going to recruit him too. So, I mean, top 100 kid is conservative with his ability. He's got all but one SEC offer, to put it in perspective. Wow. Good kid, good grades, all that stuff. So Miami's just going to have to stay on top of it. From knowing him, he's just the kid that enjoys the process. So let's see what happens.
Now, Miami's always going to be, anytime you have Cristobal and Mirabal at the helm, they're always going to be trying to lock down top offensive linemen. And there's a young man out there I really like. I mean, he's like the mountain from Game of Thrones, 6'8", 295 pounds, Owen Strebig. We're talking about an 11th grader who's 6'8", 295 pounds. He's out of Wisconsin, which is rich recruiting ground for O-linemen. He has said, Brian, that it's Miami versus Notre Dame. That's his top 2 right now. He shared something interesting. He actually had a conversation recently with Tyler Van Dyke. Now that, Van Dyke is up in Wisconsin, he had a chance to talk with TVD after TVD arrived in Wisconsin. And something that Tyler told him about Miami is it's definitely, as I think we all know, it's definitely an offensive line driven program, is what Van Dyke told Streebig. And he loved to hear that. For an offensive lineman, that's always a good thing to hear. So this could be a very tough battle, Brian, because you know as well as I do, it's tough to beat out Notre Dame for O linemen, but with Cristobal down here, Miami's going to be a tough place to beat out for O linemen as well.
This is one it's quite interesting. He's a kid that's been on the map for recruiting guys for a long time. Developed early, has been coveted by the entire Big Ten, Notre Dame, etc. And he started taking some national looks, if you will. Apparently, the Miami visit went very well. I'd heard that, but I've now heard it in multiple places. I thought Wisconsin or Notre Dame would be his final choice. So Miami getting in there means they blew him away on the visit. I have not spoken to anybody around the Notre Dame camp lately, but I know they had originally thought they had a great shot at him. The big question is, what's his timeline? O-linemen generally get it done by June, oftentimes earlier. I don't know what the case may be. Notre Dame's after several offensive tackles they have a shot at. Maybe he waits too long. I don't know. It's not like Miami's hurting for O tackles either. They're getting plenty. But this is a kid that's a national top 5 to top 8 offensive tackle, in my opinion, and he can play right or left. This is the kind of kid, if you can steal one like that from the Midwest, that's feathering your cap, because you're not going to get many kids from Wisconsin if you're Miami.
Yeah, Miami they're obviously looking for a new running backs coach. And, we've been reshuffling the deck at running back a little bit. Rodney Hill committed to Miami, former Florida State player recently. And Mark Fletcher, who had a sensational true freshman season last year. We got numbers to back that up, folks. Was one of the very most productive freshman running backs in the country. I want to talk a little bit more about that and so much more. The recruiting overlord, Brian Smith, is with us. We're not done yet, folks. You want to keep it locked right here to Locked On Canes. This is the time of year, my friends, to be getting involved at FanDuel. We got the matchup set for the Super Bowl. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. And guys, the lines are out. So we have, of course, the San Francisco 49ers, who came from down 17 to beat Detroit, and the Kansas City Chiefs, who are making what feels like an annual Super Bowl appearance at this point. I'm sure Taylor Swift will be there. And I'm looking at San Francisco. The Niners are favored. San Francisco -1.5, Kansas City +1.5. Got to be honest, I'm going to have a hard time betting against Pat Mahomes in Kansas City. So I'm looking long and hard at Kansas City as 1.5-point underdogs there, +100 on the money line. The over-under for the game is 47.5. It's a lot more fun betting overs than unders. So we'll be taking a look at all the props throughout the week, guys. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. You can bet on which player will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, so much more. And not only you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, there's so many more props. New customers can join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just join FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Thank you so much for making this Recruiting Overlord episode of Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We love the everydayers. And for the everydayers, if you want to take that everydayer experience to the next level, sign up for our exclusive group chat called Locked On Canes Insiders. I include the link in the show description below. Become a Locked On Canes Insider. You can ask me one-on-one questions on there. We're going to be doing some episodes this week where we answer some questions from the chat. I give you guys breaking news, recruiting scoops, transfer portal, all sorts of football and basketball related content for the University of Miami. Try it free for 14 days. Click the link in the show description below. Become a Locked On Canes Insider. Then if you like it, after 2 weeks, you can opt in for $4.99 a month. Easy for me to say. We give you a lot of added value there on Locked On Canes Insiders. Brian Smith, our recruiting expert, and my colleague at allhurricanes.com is with us. Brian, with Miami looking for a running backs coach right now, I've got to think that what they have in the room is going to be pretty attractive. I keep forgetting to mention that they added Rodney Hill. We were talking about that off the air. to go along with A.J. Allen coming back and Henry Parrish coming back. Chris Johnson, who we didn't see a whole lot of last season. Chris Wheatley-Humphrey and Jordan Lyle coming in. Mark Fletcher, I hope he did have surgery after an injury in the Pinstripe Bowl, so I hope he's ready for the season opener. That is yet to be determined. But even if he's not, Miami's got a lot in that room. They have the luxury of depth there right now.
I'm curious to see, assuming let's just say that he does not start the season with the Canes in the lineup, which rotation would they go with, or is this just a matchup deal? Is it going to be like Parrish is the easy?
Yeah, I think he would start. Yeah,
I would assume. But I mean, like, how much further is A.J. Allen's ability to pass protect? How much did Chris get bigger and stronger so he can pass protect? Are they going to use more two-back with the running back like Fletcher just beats you to death? It's a different animal. I get that. But now you've got Cam Ward and you're running more RPO and different things. They may change the offense a little bit. And while I don't want to, I mean, I like Fletcher. He's a good kid anyway. I want to see him play. Yeah. It's not like they're avoiding the ability to use their running back. They got plenty of guys. They'll still use 1- and 2-back sets, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I didn't even mention Trevante Citizen, who seems like he's healthy again, but he hasn't played football in 2 years, so we'll see.
He could be, because he's almost identical size to what Mark is. Miami's running back depth is about as good as any school in the United States. I mean, name somebody that's got 5 or 6 running backs in addition to Fletcher that could all carry the water for you. I think Miami will be okay, but it'd still be good to have him back.
Yeah, and especially because Fletcher was, according to Pro Football Focus, the 3rd best freshman running back in the country last year. I'd prefer if he was number 1, but I will take top 3, because also he didn't feature as much as the other 2 backs. Like Fletcher did kind of become the starter later in the year, but Henry Parrish started most of the games, and Fletcher was sharing carries, and despite that, he produced an 83.9 overall grade from Pro Football Focus last year, was 3rd behind West Virginia's Jaheim White, who had an 89.1, and Minnesota's Darius Taylor at 87.4. Fletcher was 3rd in line there. He had the highest running back grade in Miami's backfield this past year. So like you said, I hope he's ready for that opening game this year, Brian, because, even if he's not, I want him fully healthy at some point, because hopefully Miami can beat Florida even if he's not ready.
Yeah, if you add him next year, that's another wheel that you can put on there, man. There's nothing like 225 coming downhill. So those kind of injuries, where you're not sure about it, you just got to kind of wait it out. I always look at it from a worst case scenario. Adding Cam Ward, having more running backs, adding Rodney. Rodney Hill was really talented. He was just stuck in Florida State's backfield. Yeah. I have no idea which direction this will go. I trust Shannon Dawson to figure that out, though, because he's got plenty of good ones.
Now, you mentioned Fletcher's size here around 225, which, really made him unique for a true freshman to have that much power. Do either of Miami's true freshmen, because everybody's different, Chris Wheatley-Humphrey and Jordan Lyle coming in, do you think either of them can have the sort of impact as a freshman that Fletcher had, or do you think a little bit more time and more seasoning would be necessary?
Lyle would be the more likely from a physical standpoint. Yeah. He's right around 200 pounds. Wheatley-Humphreys, he ran for 2,000 yards last year in Broward County. I mean, he's really good, but he's not quite as big. He's a home run threat. He's pretty much what you're looking for in a slot receiver. He just happens to play in the backfield quite a bit. I wouldn't be surprised if Miami used him in that sense, and maybe some 2-back again. There's another opportunity. But while playing at STA, he's pretty good at pass protection. He can catch the ball. He's the guy they always use to demonstrate to younger players how to go through drills. He's a leader. There's a good chance he sees quite a few reps next year. He's not a kid that's shy of contact, and he's got speed too. So, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. But I'll go with Lyle. And I'll guess he gets somewhere between 40 and 50 carries next year, is my guess.
I like it. And by the way, based on, the conversation that I had with Larry Bluestein yesterday, who's pretty plugged in with this stuff, I do get the sense that Miami's going to go when hiring a new running backs coach, that they're going to try for somebody with more experience. I had talked about some possibilities of promoting from within, and, maybe getting some guys who might not have had like the big resumes coaching college running backs. I do feel like Miami's going to go the more experienced route. I think the questions, Brian, are how much is Miami willing to pay for a running backs coach? And, are they going to be able to poach somebody from a pretty successful staff, because I know Larry Bluestein really likes Larry Powell at North Carolina, but obviously, you never know if you'll be able to poach some. And I think Miami really likes Jawan Sider from Penn State, but he would also be extremely expensive based on the resume that he's built there in Florida and some other places. So it's not easy, because you're talking about trying to steal somebody from somebody else's staff to essentially make a lateral move.
The other part with that is the timing. The other schools would be not very happy losing him because everybody's kind of taken up. They're in the spot. They would be in the spot Miami is right now. It's rough.
Yeah.
I think there's a good chance that it's somebody that has at least some pro experience, or somebody that's currently in the NFL who's coached, maybe they coached at USF or Florida or whatever. And the other part with this, like Sider, for instance, I've been told he wants, wherever he goes, he's got to have play calling duties.
Oh,
so the chance of him leaving Penn State, he's in an awkward spot. Somebody's got to take a chance on him as a coordinator, but everybody wants him as a recruiter. And he's coached running backs really well there. They've recruited really well at Penn State too. I wouldn't suspect it's him, but the NFL connection, I would imagine, is a possibility, and somebody that's coached and recruited inside the Sunshine State, because Tim Harris Jr. was a tremendous recruiter. Yeah. I would think they need somebody to help replace that. And he coached at Booker T. Washington. He grew up in that area. He went to the University of Miami, was a track All-American, all that stuff. So having a connection to Miami would be nice in some way, shape, or form.
We always appreciate the time here from Brian Smith. You can follow him on X at FBScout_Florida. Kick-ass job he's done covering Battle 7-on-7, and so much material is up at allhurricanes.com. If you guys want to check it out, allhurricanes.com. Brian, thank you so much for the time, man. The whole week is in front of us, man. Enjoy the rest of your Monday and enjoy your week coming up.
Thank you, sir. Looking forward to it.
I try to say that like it's exciting. Oh, it's only Monday. This is, most of you are like, Monday, I hate Mondays. I love Mondays. We'll talk to you guys again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.